Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us wherever you are located. I am so thrilled to have our amazing sorority and fraternity life team here with us. They will provide you with all the essential information of what it takes to be part of these amazing groups. Before we get started, I do want to just provide you guys with a couple of important information. First, please note that today's webinar is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be available on our YouTube channel as well as easily accessible in our undergraduate admission events recordings page located under the resource section of our website. If you have any questions during the presentation, we do encourage you to use the Zoom Q&A feature where the dedicated staff behind the scenes will be responding to those questions in real time. We should have plenty of time to do some live Q&A. So please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. And additionally, we do have 60 minutes dedicated to this webinar, but if we are unable to answer all the questions live, we do encourage you all to please reach out to our undergraduate admissions team via our contact us form found under the resource section, and our team would be more than happy to forward your inquiries to the sorority and fraternity life team. We do encourage you to please drop questions in the Q&A feature for them to be generic. If you have specific questions, the best format is to contact us via email, and from there we can forward it to the sorority and fraternity life team, and then they will be more than happy to provide you with details and essentials needed for your specific scenarios. Also, please note that in accordance to UC policy and guidelines, our office is only able to share student-specific admissions information to students only, no other individuals. So please make sure that if you have any other questions, even outside of sorority and fraternity and have undergraduate admission questions, please note that we can only correspond directly with students, no family or guest members. So we do appreciate your understanding and thank you for your cooperation in advance. Lastly, if you'd like to enable closed captioning, simply click the live transcript icon in the Zoom toolbar, then select Show Captions to turn on automated subtitles. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it on to the amazing sorority and fraternity life for them to share their screen and get started with the presentation.
Thanks. Happy day, folks. My name is Marina Haramantis. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Associate Director for Sorority and Fraternity Life. And we are so excited to be here to share with you about our area and our organizations that we have here at UC San Diego. As we get started, I also want to introduce my amazing team and staff here. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Chloe to get us started as well.
Thank you, Marina. Hello, everyone. My name is Chloe Leal, she, her pronouns. I'm excited to share space with you all and go in for information around sorority and fraternity life. And I will hand it over to my colleague, Jessie.
Thank you all for being here and for your interest in sorority fraternity life. My name is Jessie Moore. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the third member of our team and echo the sentiment. Excited to share more.
So here at UC San Diego, an overview of our community, and here are some of our amazing students that we have. We are 40 plus values-based social organizations. So our community is specifically based on the social aspect and our cultural aspect in our organizations here. So there are a number of organizations that have Greek letters that are focused on the academic sphere or acting, any of those pieces. We don't oversee them specifically in our office, but we do have a number of colleagues on campus that work with those honorary organizations. They just don't fall under our umbrella. We do have four governing councils, and we'll get into the types of organizations in those councils in a little bit. But we are just giving a community overview right now. We are a non-campus based housing community, so we don't have on-campus housing, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit as well. And like we said, we are values-based organizations and we are a values-based office as well. Our values here are equity, diversity, and inclusion, academic excellence, leadership and character development, community responsibility, and lifelong friendships. And that's what all of our programming in our office, the developmental models that we have in our office, our values are very values based and very values driven. Just like the organizations that we are a part of, we make sure that we have those values within everything that we are doing as well.
Great. So that was our high-level overview. Now jumping in, one of our first big questions that we often get is about housing for our sorority fraternity life community. So as Marina mentioned, at UC San Diego, we are a non-campus-based housing community. So what that means is that the campus does not own or offer housing that you might associate with a fraternity or sorority, right? I'm sure some of you maybe have family, friends, or colleagues at other universities who might have that sorority fraternity housed experience, where a lot of members of the chapter maybe live in a house on or near campus. That is not exactly what our community has here. Rather, most of our members, similar to their peers in other organizations across campus, maybe rent housing from the local community or live in a residence hall on campus, and their activities in their sorority or fraternity actually occur in different spaces that they can rent and use on campus. For example, the Price Center or Main Student Center on campus serves as a really large hub for a lot of our organizations to reserve space for their events and activities, rather than having them again at a different facility. This also goes for facilities owned by the chapter national organization. The majority of our organizations don't have facilities like that either. So again, that means that their experience is very much modeling our other student organizations and that they're doing a lot on campus and their other activities are happening maybe in residence halls or other homes that they rent. So that is that on housing. And next, I'm going to pass it back to Marina to talk about our first governing council for our organizations.
Thanks, Jesse. Our first governing council that we have on campus is our National Pan-Hellenic Greek Council, NPHC, otherwise known as our Divine Nine organizations. So our NPHC are our Black Greek lettered organizations, and they are, again, Black Greek lettered, but open to anyone who would like to join these organizations. These organizations are actually a majority are citywide membership. So that means that citywide is we actually share these charters with a majority of our other universities within San Diego County. These organizations are very unique again to San Diego because we are able to work with our other campuses to have a very holistic, individualized relationship with these folks. They are rooted within the Black Greek letter experience. And fun fact for UC San Diego is that NPHC, there's only one NPHC Plaza in the state of California, and UC San Diego is the only campus to host the NPHC Plaza. If you have a chance to visit UCSD at any point before you come to campus, we highly recommend you check it out. If and when you decide to come to UC San Diego, we highly recommend you come check it out. It is a very awesome experience. Our NPHC council continues to grow and become a very robust place for our Black students on campus and those who want to get involved on campus are able to come to our yard show. Our connection with our BRC is also a really great connection. And so a lot of our NPHC organizations are actually today on campus as we're getting ready to come back to campus for our BRC community cookout. And so they're going to be there tabling today, utilizing our NPHC Plaza and again, building some really great community. And so we are very excited to have them here. And these are some of our students on the screen that you're able to see. And that top photo is actually from their second annual yard show. And they are already actually planning their third annual yard show coming up in the spring quarter. So we are, again, very excited to have them. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Chloe to talk about our next council.
Thank you, Marina. Happy to share out information about our Multicultural Greek Council. It's very near and dear to my heart. I'm in an organization affiliated with the Multicultural Greek Council. So here on our campus, we have MGC, which is also their acronym, which houses 12 of our culturally and identity-based organizations. And so these organizations are broken down into, we have four Asian interest groups, six Latinx sororities and fraternities, and two Armenian-based organizations. These organizations celebrate and are rooted in these values connected to their cultural identity. However, you do not have to be a part of that specific cultural identity to be a part of these organizations. You just have to be open-minded and willing to celebrate these cultural identities to be part of these groups. These groups are rooted in culture, driven by everything that they do, and are very, very engaged on our campus around community service, which we will get into a little bit later on. But MGC is very prideful about their cultural backgrounds. And I will hand it to Jesse.
Yes, the Interfraternity Council next up. So the Interfraternity Council, or IFC, oversees 13 fraternities on campus that have a variety of cultural and historical backgrounds, from our Muslim fraternity to STEM engineering fraternity, as well as a Jewish fraternity. These organizations, as many of our others, are values-based and have a rich history of supporting different philanthropies and causes. And again, we have 13 in this particular council. And then our last council next up is the College Panhellenic Association. College Panhellenic Association, or CPA, we love our acronyms here. They encompass 12 specifically sororities. So those are for our female identifying students who are interested in joining the largest women's organization on campus. Similarly, they have a variety of cultural and values, backgrounds, and histories. We also have a Jewish sorority as well as a STEM sorority in this council that reflects the Interfraternity Council partners as well. And this organization, again, is one of our largest, and unique to this council is that they have a very structured recruitment process that we're actually preparing for right now. Some folks may be familiar with the Panhellenic primary recruitment is what it's called. Very large structured process for how to join that allows folks the opportunity to meet all 12 of these organizations. These 12 organizations are affiliated with a national Panhellenic Council as well. So nationwide, there is a coalition between these types of sororities also. And those are our four councils for representing the different types of fraternities and sororities we have here at UC San Diego. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit more about the values in the organization. All right, I'm going to pass it to Chloe to talk about academic success.
Thank you, Jesse. So, as we are a very academically focused campus, so are our individual sororities and fraternities. And so that is something that they pride themselves on and do a lot of programming and partnerships to bring in study jams, to bring in scholarships, and really focus on the efforts being made in the classrooms by their members. So, as you can see on the screen, we have our SFL member GPA, broken down by our average sorority member GPA as well as our average fraternity member GPA, and then compared to the general UC San Diego overall student GPA. So we're very proud that we're a little bit over the average of the general campus GPA. So participating in Sorority and Fraternity Life does gives you exposure to a variety of different campus mentors, professors. Through some of those professors serve as advisors to some of our sororities and fraternities. Some of our sorority and fraternities have academic-based advisors that they're able to engage with and get support through that initiative. So overall, doing a lot of programming to support our academic success on campus through our sororities and fraternities.
As we mentioned earlier, our office has values, and many of these organizations are, again, are values-based. And one of our big values as well is community service. Last academic year in 24-25, UC San Diego sorority and fraternity members participated in 17,185 service hours in our local San Diego and Southern California area. Giving back is a very large part of our community. Just for a snapshot for you to know, is our community is a little under 2,500 members. Student-wise, we are hoping to grow again this year, as Jesse has mentioned. Panhellenic recruitment is starting, primary recruitment is starting to build up. Our multicultural Greek, our interfraternity council, and our NPHC intake is starting to happen as we go into our academic year as well. So we are looking to grow our community, but a little under 2,500 members doing over 17,000 service hours. Will continue to grow as our academic year happens. And this is just a snapshot of the hours and the service that they are doing. Doing a clothing drive, doing food drives, picking up trash on our own campus as well is just what we are looking forward to and what we are doing. So if service and doing hands-on service in San Diego and Southern California is something of interest to you, this is something that you can do in an organization while getting academic support. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jesse to talk about some other things that our organizations can help you do as well.
Yes, in complement to community service, our organizations are very passionate about philanthropy or raising funds for a variety of causes. Most of our chapters either have a national or local organization that they partner with regularly to raise funds and provide that financial resource to those organizations doing really great things in the community. So last year, our organizations raised over $190,000 for their local, national, and international philanthropic causes. And that number has continued to rise over the years as our community grows, which is really exciting. And again, a reflection of the values of our community and our organizations. Our chapters get really creative with the ways that they raise funds for these organizations, as you can see on the screen. Pieing folks or having people pay money to have the opportunity to pie a friend seems to be a really popular one these days. But they, of course, also do other things like bake sales or different kind of walks in the community. Any opportunity to raise funds, they are finding very unique and fun ways to do that. And again, those are going to really great causes such as the American Heart Association. Last year, the LA Wildfire Relief. Several of our organizations did specific campaigns to help that specific situation. And then the Live Like Lou Foundation or ALS Awareness are just a few of the ones that our organizations are very passionate about. And then next, I'll pass it back to Marina to talk about leadership.
When you join a sorority or fraternity, one of the biggest pieces that we can give you is leadership development. Because when you decide to join a fraternity or sorority, you decide to hold yourself to a higher standard, is something that I like to share. Becoming an SFL leader, you are able to attend events both on campus, around campus, and sometimes across the country uh, by attending conferences, going to just on-campus leadership development. Things that we do, our office actually hosts a leadership conference for our student leaders. And we host risk management events that say, hey, like here are resources around what it looks like to utilize our health and wellness office. Here is our care at SARC office. Here is our student conduct office to say, what does it look like to work with our residence hall coordinators? What does it look like to have a good relationship with our campus police office, right? And those are things that we have really great relationships with our on-campus office, with our on-campus partners, but how do we also connect folks outside of UC San Diego? And this is, again, leadership development that you get to have by joining an organization on our on campus within sorority and fraternity life. This is just a snapshot of some of our students, and one of some of our students in this top, I think left, I don't know my directions very well, of students that we actually took them to a conference in Anaheim, and they were able to go to a national conference and get to know folks and get some leadership development from professionals across the country of what it means to be a sorority fraternity leader within their organization. And again, get developmental skills of an internship, how to get an internship in whatever field that they are in. So they are able to not only get career development, get some internships by joining a fraternity or sorority, and get career advice. So what does it look like to navigate going through an interview process? And so again, These are some of the values that we're able to gain by joining a sorority and fraternity, but also the developmental piece that we like to share by doing this. I would say one of the best pieces of my experience joining a fraternity and sorority, and I'm also a member of a cultural Greek organization, is being able to give back in my leadership development and being able to be the person that I wish that I had had. And I like to share that whenever I'm doing these types of presentations because this particular piece of leadership skills is one thing that I continue to develop even as a professional. And that I think is a skill that I will always continue to hone and hopefully give back. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Chloe for our next value that we like to talk about.
Thank you, Marina. As we've mentioned, our community values drive all the work we do in our on our campus in sorority and fraternity life. And so that value that we want to also highlight is our equity, diversity, and inclusion value. It's embedded in all of our trainings and our programs, but specifically we have a program called our sorority and fraternity life equity, diversity, and inclusion peer ambassador program. So as you can see, this is a photo of our EDI peer ambassadors from last academic year. We had about a team of 15. And so this group is paid and able to work on and create social justice workshops, trainings, and deliver those to our sororities and fraternities. And so our workshops are various topics rooted in social justice, rooted in equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so some examples of workshop topics that we presented on last year were the power of cultural competence, exploring access and inclusion and equity in higher education, and unpacking implicit bias. This quarter, we're talking about how can our sororities and fraternities be more inclusive and partner and collaborate together to create a more cohesive community. So really excited that this program is driven by the students. They get to create the content based on the interests of the members of the team and then get to engage all 40 chapters that we have in this social justice work. And again, they are paid through the university and are able to grow their facilitation skills, their research skills, and just overall fuel their passion for social justice. And that's a little bit about our program and the work that they do to support our sorority and fraternity community. And now I'm going to hand it off to Jesse to talk about how to join our community.
Yes, absolutely. This is, of course, one of our biggest questions we get after hopefully learning a little bit more. Now you're interested in exploring what chapter might be a good fit for you in any of our four councils. So, first and foremost, every fall quarter, our office, in collaboration with the councils, hosts a recruitment event where all of our chapters are out tabling and new students, transfer students, anybody who is interested in learning more can come to that event, which is called Summerfest. We are actually preparing to host this event tomorrow. If you happen to be on campus, you could definitely come by from 5 to 7 out at Matthews Quad and T Square. So it's on campus. It's a great opportunity to meet all of our student leaders and chapters. If you're interested in learning more beyond that event, we do also have an SFL general interest form. The QR code there will take you to that form and allow you the opportunity to share more about who you are, as well as what types of organizations in our community specifically that you may be interested in. And then we'll follow up with you with more details about how to follow and get involved with those organizations. And on that note, we really recommend that the best way to stay connected with our community is on social media, specifically Instagram. As you'll see here, all of our councils have their own Instagram pages, and that's where you can find all of the chapters pages as well, and then information that those councils are hosting to help get to know the community. For example, the Multicultural Greek Council hosts an info night every fall and I believe winter and spring too. They typically host an event where they bring all the Multicultural Greek Council chapters together at an event where you can meet that specific council and get to know them. And then each of the rest of our organizations also have specific recruitment or intake processes. Even just understanding that our organizations use different terminology for some of their different activities like recruitment versus intake is great to know and research ahead of time by following them on Instagram. Also, our website, the Story of a Train Life website, is really helpful to find more information and background about all of the chapters we have on campus. And from there, just doing a little extra research or signing up for our interest form, that's when you can learn when recruitment event or intake events are happening, and then how to reach out or connect with the events that each individual organization is hosting to go through recruitment. That is our best advice because there's definitely a lot more we could say about each council's different processes. But it's, of course, an individual choice for you to decide which one you're interested in and which group makes the most sense to fit your values and what you're looking for to get involved here at UC San Diego. I believe that is our last slide, so we are definitely now able to answer questions. I know there were some submitted, so we can jump into those.
Thank you so much, Jesse, Marina, and Chloe. I think first off, we'll go ahead and do a one question regarding that chapter's housing. So since there are no houses on campus, how can these students find ways to build community and or how do they try to find housing together? If you guys could provide a little bit more insight about that.
Yeah, so a lot of these chapter members, they find community just by hanging out on campus together. A lot of these chapter members will also just study a lot together. They spend a lot of time in Geisel Library, studying together. In regards to finding housing together, some of them will actually, if they stay on campus, will become roommates and submit their housing applications together. Doing that, and some of them will actually do the will find apartments together in the area or in areas around San Diego. If they will find some houses together that they will rent out to help with cutting the rent and the bills down a little bit. Chloe and Jesse, any other ways that they found housing together or other ways that you've seen them build community on campus aside from going to meetings and some of the sisterhood and brotherhood events that they've done?
I'll just add, like, it is very much what Marina said in terms of going to events together, having to put on events for their organizations, and there are like those formal pieces about events. Then there's the informal pieces. A lot of them will just casually just grab food together if they're on campus, or they'll be in Geisel and they'll text their members saying, "Hey, I'm in Geisel. Does anybody else want to study together?" It's like very informal opportunities where they're just connecting on campus, as well as then the very formal where they have to be at these events because there is some time commitments involved with being in a sorority and fraternity to help put on those events. So I would say it's a mix of, hey, I'm just looking for anybody who's, available to hang out, and some of them will just even gather on campus to just, I don't know, study, eat, just hang out and vibe, as well as then doing the formal events for their organizations.
Thank you. I think you mentioned Summerfest, which is now in the months of September, is one of the biggest kind of like outreach and recruitment time. Any other large time later in the year that students can consider if they say, okay, September just was really hectic. Do you guys do kind of like every 6 months or every quarter, should I say, like trying to recruit new members, or is it only kind of like a one-time entry? Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
That's a great question. I would say it does vary a bit by chapter as well as by council. So I will speak for Panhellenic specifically. They have a primary recruitment event in the first week of the fall quarter every year. That is the only time that all chapters are basically guaranteed to be recruiting and welcoming new members. And then throughout the rest of the year, it really depends on the eligibility for the chapters to continue to recruit, depending on the amount of members they have if they have the ability to continue to recruit. So that is very specific, and again, that's just their council. The rest of our organizations, we don't typically have another event where we bring everybody together to do a welcome or recruitment or intake, but each council will have different opportunities where they host maybe an info night for that council only, or they'll do tabling events. So actually, we have Summerfest tomorrow as this is happening, but each of our councils will also be tabling on Library Walk on different days over the next week as well. So really a lot of things are done by council, but Summerfest is the only time where everyone's coming together to talk about welcoming new members.
And since the councils have been here, I'm saying many years, that they have perfect their communications and informing students on, how to join and how to prepare for events or rush week or whatever is needed. So can you discuss about, some of those outlets that the groups use, like emails, or should students just be always checking on social media, or how do they ensure that communication is relayed to students who are interested?
I would say the best thing, like there are multiple ways to definitely get this information. Um, Social media, I think, is the best way that you could do that. So following them on social media, these are their Instagram handles. TikTok is always a great way for, I think, Panhellenic and our NPHC is starting to utilize TikTok in different ways. Our Instagram, which is in the very bottom corner, if you want to look at that, we repost those things. This interest form, we send out emails about what events are happening for us, via a newsletter as well. Um, because it changes on a quarterly basis. It also changes. The folks who run these are students, and so they are the ones who know what changes on honestly a daily basis of how they get out information. Um, and so I think that's also the best way, in connecting via word of mouth, of asking folks like, hey, what works? Like, what are you doing? What does that look like? So connecting with the folks that are in the community, I also think is a really great way to ask, what's going on? How do I join? What does this look like? What is your chapter experience? Um, because communication does change over time, like what we think works may not work. And sometimes emails are hard to read. Sometimes emails are hard to read. Sometimes looking at social media, when there's just a lot of it is difficult. We also are starting to put our events up onto the new UC San Diego calendar. So I would also start looking at that calendar that UCSD is, or UC San Diego is starting to use, as we start putting more events up on that calendar. I would also highly recommend that, as that is a new thing that's coming out this year. Um, I think those are definitely some places to look at, but also just don't be afraid to DM any of the accounts and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, what can I attend? Because they should be able to let you know, and if they don't be afraid to DM them a couple times.
Yes, so students, networking never ends. Even once you start university, it is an ongoing thing. So always get yourself out of your comfort zone. Communicate, reach out, be the first one. If you don't speak out, you won't get the info. So that's very important. A little bit about, if you guys can talk a little bit about the commitments regarding all of these groups. Is it, how serious is it? Is it one time and it's for the whole year? Is it kind of like a club where they can sign it and like sign up and then probably opt out? Or is there a pause? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can chime in and then Jesse and Marina fill in any gaps I have, but there are commitments being a part of each sorority fraternity. The specifics of those just change just depends on organization to organization. But kind of the consistent thing is that there are time commitments and financial commitments. What the time and financial commitment looks like I said, changes based on organization. And so we can't give any financial costs. That information the groups will go over in their recruitment processes, but we know that every group has some sort of dues. that they pay either per quarter or per year. Again, cost varies from $50 to several $100s, just depending on the type of organization. So we do encourage any student who's interested in going through recruitment to be asking these questions of the groups because they will tell you what those look like, if they offer payment plans, if they offer scholarships. But there is some financial pieces across all groups. And then the time commitment, like I said, there are required meetings that folks have to attend, and potentially more than that. It just depends on the group, and they will also tell you what the time commitment may look like. So, time commitment and financial commitments are great questions to ask each of the individual groups you're interested in once you arrive on campus and go through the recruitment process.
Is there a lot of overlap between members if they're in specific majors, like if they participate in any of their of these groups? Do they tend to have a lot of students in specific majors, or do they focus on just kind of like a mission or goal? Or how should a student who has no friends or any, insights on how about these councils or these groups, like how should one go into it and gauge, is this maybe a good fit for me? Should I go on it on a basis on majors, or should I go more of like the community service aspect, or should I go more on the educational side of like scholarships, or how they can support my funding in schooling? Can you guys provide some insights to that?
That's a tough one, Griselda, because I think there's a lot of reasons why folks join our organizations. So I'll start, but I think we all probably have an opinion on this. For one of the reasons we went through our core values, most of our organizations reflect those values in some way. There are a few organizations that maybe have more emphasis on certain values than others, though, definitely. And that is, I think, why the different council affiliation also makes a difference to understanding maybe what they emphasize a little bit more. I'll first start more broad. Every one of our organizations has an academic excellence component or value in their chapters. So, especially I think on this campus, a lot of those like required activities that they're doing are related to their academics. We see a lot of chapters putting on a study hour regularly for their members to attend. And then maybe internally in their chapter, they also do some more intentional academic support where they maybe are welcoming members of all majors, but they're identifying groups of people who have the same major and say, "Hey, we're gonna like help you identify each other across grade level as well in our chapter and say, hey, you all have the same major. Let's like let you connect and hopefully help you meet and help each other through your academics in addition to studies." So they are doing some intentional programming around that value of academic success. Again, all of our organizations share philanthropy, community service, and leadership as a value, and that is reflected in those kind of required time commitments as well. Oftentimes, our chapters are rewarding members or holding members accountable to complete a certain amount of community service hours or to attend certain leadership functions. So I would say across the board, that is all the same. We do, of course, have organizations that have specific cultural backgrounds or identities or histories as well. So we mentioned that we do have a STEM fraternity as well as a STEM sorority. So they were founded specifically and try to recruit members that are in that specific major, but they are still a social organization that is, part of their value as well. So they're doing kind of all those things that I mentioned that all of our chapters do, as well as focusing a little bit on STEM specifically. And so if someone is interested in that, and they're really passionate about their STEM major or the field, and they want a social group who's going to relate to that, that might be where they lean towards and do a little bit more research and maybe go to those recruitment activities. Then, of course, as we mentioned, some of our groups have a cultural background or identity background. The National Panhellenic Council, or historically Black Greek organizations, have a really rich history of promoting and supporting the Black community. So perhaps if that is something a student is really passionate about and they share that identity, or they want to learn more about that identity and support that group, that might be what drives them to join that organization. But again, there are still the rest of the components there that I mentioned of academics, leadership, philanthropy in that those organizations as well, even though they have that history and that kind of extra emphasis on their cultural identity. And I would say the Multicultural Greek Council groups are the same. They might have an emphasis and really, a passion about a certain identity or cultural background, but they also do the social things and the other values that we've mentioned. So again, I think when you're asking like how do you approach it, that's why we're like, here's all the information. Start with dabbling and learning about researching each group, seeing what they care about. What are they posting about on Instagram? If you relate to that, then you can, follow that chapter, go to some of their recruitment events, meet their members, ask these questions that we're talking about, and hopefully that will guide them in the right direction. Chloe, Marina, anything you would add on those notes?
I would say the thing that I would add is we know that our organizations can be potentially like a bit overwhelming. Some of our organizations, just again for some scope, is our largest organizations can be well over 100 people, and some of our smallest organizations can be under 10. And so if that means something for you, if that is you're like, I want a smaller organization because maybe I get intimidated by that. That's okay. It's okay to kind of again do that because we understand like people join people. And if you want that smaller experience, I encourage you to look for that smaller experience. If you're like, no, like I love people, I want to talk to people, this is me, go for that very large experience. Like we again encourage what that looks like. Um, I encourage my folks who are like, no, I need a one-on-one conversation. And if you need to have that conversation and then take some time to be like, I need to recharge before I go talk to those people, before I go and have a conversation with another person, it's okay. Like tabling and walking past a lot of folks on Library Walk, maybe you need to have that conversation via DM on Instagram. That's cool. We do encourage looking up folks in advance so you know what you're going into. Um, Having those values, knowing what your values are first is really important, but also understanding these organizations are lifelong commitments. um, when you go into this organization, you are saying, this is what I want to be involved in for, I say this, it is a lifelong commitment for the rest of my life. Like, I do want to say, like, my membership with my organization, I am committed to. And I have been a member of my organization for a very long time. And I love my organization. Um, but I did have to do that research, and I did want to make sure that what I was doing was intentional for myself. And so it's okay to not want a big experience, and it's okay to want a big experience. But I again recommend what Jesse said, look at what makes sense for you. And it's okay to not, to maybe also take a little bit of time. You don't have to join in right in the fall. We do have organizations that have winter in and spring, but it's also okay to not join if you are an incoming first year. We also have a lot of folks that join as transfer students. We have folks that join as second years. We have folks that join as seniors. Um, it does not matter when you join. It's if you want to join, we encourage you to come join.
That's so amazing. It was so lovely said. Thank you, Jesse and Marina. I think for everybody, Google is your best friend. Google has all the information you need. And also, AI is out there, ChatGPT. If you find these groups, compare them, really look at what they stand for. A lot of these also groups do work with our community resource centers. So if you happen to stop by or learn more about the community resource centers and having a group that is tied culturally, you can also ask them what kind of student groups, organizations, or councils do they collaborate with to ensure that they're all tied and connected. So there's a lot of resources out there. Website is the best format. After that, Google and just looking at Instagram and trying to just be present and showing up at these events is probably the best format for anyone. So UC San Diego really is going to be the experience that you make of it. So if you want to show up, if you want to be included in these groups, they are all out there for you. So with that said, I do want to thank Marina, Jesse, and Chloe for all this information. This was very insightful, and I am just going to go ahead and finish off our presentation with a little bit of more information. We have curated a lot more webinars for future try-in, so we encourage all of you to please go log into our undergraduate admissions website. Under the menu, the Visit tab, select Events, and in there you will find an array of different other get involved webinars that you can attend, such as athletics and recreation. If you want to listen to academic schools, we have spotlight webinars happening in October. And in November, will also be featuring, some transfers webinars as well. So there's a ton of information out there. There's a ton of more programs that you can attend and register. So we encourage you to do that. And if you missed any of if you missed this webinar, joined late, or missed any of our other webinars that were scheduled earlier in this month, we do encourage you to check out our resource tab. And under the resource tab, there's an event recordings section. And here you will be able to access this webinar, revisit it later down the year, especially after you hear your admissions decisions from UC San Diego and want to refresh about what sorority and fraternity life is. This will be all public and accessible throughout the whole year. So we encourage you to please check out all the rest of the recordings we have available. And that said, we are going to thank again our Sorority and Fraternity Life team. Thank you so much. This was very insightful. We hope that all of you here were able to get very interesting information. It excites you to what you can see yourself joining. And hopefully the key thing here is to ensure that the way to get involved is to be out there, to talk, to communicate, to network is really important. And UC San Diego has it all for you. If it's not within the councils or student organizations or community resource centers, there's a ton of resources that UC San Diego is here to support you. And so we do all wish you all the best during your application, and we hope to see you all in the fall. And again, Google is your best friend. So anything you need, UC San Diego has it for you, and we encourage you to read up on everything that is available for you. And we wish you all a great afternoon. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.